everyone. So the Neu Agenda is looking for business and individual sponsors. Being a sponsor is a great way to support local film industry here in town because we bring on and promote all of the local industry people. It's also a great way to make phenomenal connections because our sponsors get to make connections with other sponsors at special events that we have just for stars and sponsors. It's also a great way, of course, to promote your product and to promote what it is that you're doing in the community. For our sponsors, we go out and we tour their places and get to know them a little bit. And for our individuals who want to sponsor our show, you can even get IMDb producer credits. So think about sponsoring us and partnering with us on this incredible journey. When you sponsor the Neu Agenda, you sponsor people's dreams because our goal is to live, not dream.
Hey guys, so our conversation with Trey, Vanessa, and Michelle was such an important one, and we had such a great time that we actually talked for about twice the length of our normal show. Instead of deciding to go ahead and cut things out like we usually do, we just found that the conversation was too important to really cut it down. And so instead, we're going to continue this conversation.
So without further ado, I'm going to bring on the lovely, incredibly talented Trey Picket. Hello, darling, and welcome to my show. But I meet all of my, really bad exes and stuff. I stalked them on social media. I found them on social media. Yeah, I'm not really sure who designed shoes like this for women. I feel like it was probably a man. I think so. Can you unpack a little bit of that word decolonization?
In order to decolonize, someone has to be ready, right? There's a first step, and that first step is, okay, I'm ready. So part of the idea is our senses. Our senses are something we're very used to. As soon as we change the way that we're able to interact and interface with our senses, we've already begun the process, right? So we engage the human interaction in a different way, and it's almost like reminding someone what it was like to be born and invited to this earth for the first time, and then grow from there. So it's almost like peeling back. We literally start at the basic. Let's crawl again.
Well, it's absolutely necessary.
It's absolutely necessary. So it's an unlearning, it's an undoing, and we have cycles that we have to go through, and the process never necessarily ends. It only is you reach a new landing. So you start at one point, and let's call that ground zero.
Sure.
Ground zero then becomes a journey that you reach a new ground zero because you're starting again at your beginnings, right? That's like the new status quo. The idea really says, well, on my journey on this planet, maybe I've learned things all wrong. And if I'm okay admitting that, then I can actually now begin to do the work. So that's the kind of work decolonization is, because colonization itself comes and says, here's not who you are, but who we expect you to be. We're going to strip you of everything that you were and introduce something else.
But Vanessa, are you here? Yes, she is. Hello, Vanessa. Come on in. Hello, welcome to my show. I love the weird moment where I'm like, I'm going to hug you. You don't know me at all. You're welcome to sit over here.
That's another reason or motivation for what we do, is empowering our community to aspire and inspire change and for more and for a stronger community build. And like Trey touched on a second ago, is being a representation of who you would have wanted to look up to or have mentor you on your path or encourage you on your path to what you want for yourself.
So I brought my friend Michelle today as well. So Michelle, hello, lovely. How are you? Hi.
Beautiful energy.
I realized that.
Oh my gosh.
Right here. So then it turns out there's 48 artists.
Yep.
And like 12 of them are
13 are student artists representing the 13 different school districts in Albuquerque, or schools, high schools in Albuquerque.
Which I learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I'm always learning, so that's good. So then I was looking at the map of Albuquerque, drawing it out, whatever, and then I just saw the map of Albuquerque because it was really important to include the whole thing. And so I was like, a bird, it's like a rising bird.
Yeah.
With Corrales in the up here, and then west side, east side, and then South Valley, Borales, and so it's this beautiful bird. And then there's a little bit of like some map details with the big eye. I can't remember, did we put
the river?
The river, and then
I think
neighborhoods, like we did different neighborhoods written in. It's like every person gets to make what they really want to make. And then it's going to come together like this big three-dimensional bird thing.
So this is one of 48 pieces. And so this is Abby Butler's piece. Each of these pieces is going to be auctioned off so that we can raise scholarship funds. So at Catharsis, one of the things that we're really big on is accessibility of the arts and training in the arts, and the arts is really expensive. And so, so we provide scholarships. So our at the beginning of our when we started this company, we wanted to make sure that we did a 1-to-4 ratio of scholarships because that's what we felt like we could afford. But we've managed to maintain about a 52% scholarship rate, which is super exciting. So Michelle does 8 billion other things too. So we are probably going to get killed on time. So tell me, I'm going to jump right into your bus.
Okay.
I just want to jump right into the bus.
Bus.
You're the bus lady.
Yeah. Yeah, the magic bus driver.
Really?
So the bus.
Are you like high key Miss Frizzle? Like,
Yes.
yo.
Yes, she is.
Yo.
But with art, not science.
It's like a mix of, Willy Wonka. I feel like I'm like the woman version of Willy Wonka.
I love that. I love
Let's
that. That's
go.
great.
And
Yes.
the electric Kool-Aid acid test. I don't know if anybody ever read that with Kim Casey and Jack Kerouac, and they're driving across the country with this crazy bus and doing all this stuff.
I just heard
Anyway.
acid.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
Yeah. Okay.
This
That's
is
a whole different kind of trip, honey.
the bus. It's true. It's all about the journeys.
It's all about the
So,
journey.
and the bus is called Smash Bus because we just get in there.
Yes.
It has a funny acronym, but anyways, let's see. So the bus, it's I worked a lot in Chicago and also in Oakland, and so I was working in all different types of communities. Some really affluent, some people experiencing homelessness, schools, different places. And I've been a community arts instructor for 25.
You're only 25 years
only
old,
25,
baby.
and so since I was born.
Me too.
I've been doing that. And
Right.
then
great.
I was just there was a friend of mine, Pam Myers. I'm going to give a shout out to Pam. Out in Chicago, we had this conversation about making art accessible through a mobile art studio, a mobile art bus, or whatever it was going to be. And that was 2002, something like that. And then lived in these different places and came to Albuquerque. And something about Albuquerque was just this is the place. This
Something
is the time.
about it.
This is,
Yeah.
what did you say?
There's something
Something
about it.
Yeah.
Really, it makes you want to stay here forever.
Yeah,
land
and
of
it's
entrapment.
there's it feels to me, I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
It's the land of entrapment.
I
No,
forgot.
enchantment, not entrapment.
It's,
It traps you with
in-
love.
but
You invite
I
you
love
with
here. I love Albuquerque.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but there's something about Albuquerque. It's not too big, it's not small. There's diversity, there's
Right.
room for growth,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It's the dreaming place, and so and making things happen for me too. And I see that in other people. You
Yeah.
know, your awesome new endeavor together, not super new, but sort of. You can. It feels like there's room. Anyway, so I was this is it, and I got the bus for $1,000 on
What?
Craigslist.
What?
Yeah, it was for a little baseball team, and they were selling it. And so I was looking for all these different types of vehicles. I find the bus, I get the bus.
I could buy a bus.
Lots of people have helped me on the way. I can't, not enough time to say all the people's names, but you know who you are. And so this is the beginning of the 5th year coming up. And so we took out all those seats and turned it into a mobile art studio. And so the idea is, we can go anywhere. We, meaning it's a one-person show. So if you're looking for an internship, hit me up. Because, it's a lot, But, so the bus goes everywhere. And that's the idea, is that art should I don't use should too often, but this I really believe, accessible for all people.
Yes.
And the bus is, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Make it accessible for all people.
Yes. And the supplies, and so I get supplies done all the time. They call me Shelly Shucker. That's my nickname.
Yep.
And shucking to us is you're always doing something. You're always collecting, organizing, changing, transforming. Whatever it is, get in this chair. Whatever it is, we do it. And so anyways, I get donations all the time because I just started taking this bus out, and it was real raw, but I was I'm doing it. And I started meeting people after school, in just all these different museums and communities and popping up on the streets and all this stuff. And I just met all these people. So it was a great also vehicle for me as a person that moved here from another place to just meet people, meet the people, you know? And so on the side of the bus, it says Art by the People, and it's about accessibility, and it's about the resources that come from businesses or most people, especially during COVID, are like, I have so much stuff to give you. And so then I organize it and then make it accessible for people of all ages, and just kind of started there.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're giving you
So-
snaps.
Thank
like, let's
you.
go.
Yes. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I know that you also, you know, I don't know if it's recently or not. I know that part of it's recent, but I know that you have an actual physical studio up in Candice as well, and it does art. And then you also have, as part of that, this New Moon yoga place, which I love. I love her New Moon yoga studio, and also they do massage there. And so, as part of the show, I got to go get a massage. And we have a little clip and a tour about her studio. We're super excited.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. We did that.
Yeah.
And so we're going to cut to that real quick, and then we'll be right back.
Okay.
So awesome.
Hey guys, so here I am at Smash Studios with owner, operator, founder, all the things, the beautiful, incredible Michelle Corte. And we are super excited because she has so much really cool stuff going on, and I absolutely love this place. And I wanted to introduce you to my good friend and her awesome place.
So we're in this is called Smash Studio Arts. This is the non-mobile. As you can tell, we're not moving. There's the bus outside. And this is just a place that it's set up so that people can come in and use all different types of materials. I teach different classes here, from like children to, you know, obviously adults. And there's open studio time, so which is really cool. And then there's also like, how do we paint stuff? You know, how do we paint a wave? People get to kind of choose what their adventure is when they come here. And this is also my working studio, which I like to kind of highlight that when people come and take classes, they're in a working professional studio. So this is pretty clean right now and organized. And this is just the way it is because it's actively being used.
Yeah. I'm seeing like really cool stuff all around here. So first of all, I know what this is. Can we get a sneak peek about this?
Yeah, I tried to get it to a point where it was somewhat presentable. So for our mural project, this is my piece, and it's part of the international district. The larger international district piece is going to be right next to it. So I just had like super fun doodling on this one. I work in a lot of different styles, as you will see. And I just went for this one, and I just loved, like, wanted it to be colorful to represent that community and just all the different intersections that are happening, like actually physically and like with relationships and the grid of the streets. So I was trying to just hit all of those points in this piece.
Okay, so I see like incredible art all around here. I want to talk first about like some of these pieces that you have here, and I love like the 3D components. Can you tell us a little bit about any one of those? Like, give me one. Let's start with that one.
Pick it up?
No.
Okay, so they're actually all part of a moon series. I'm trying to do a painting every time there's a full moon or a piece of art. So there'll be 12.
That's awesome.
And this one was the big one, was the first one of the year. The shiny with the orange, kind of, I don't know, like Japanese style to me. And I'm just, they're still similar style because it's me. And then this one was actually on a beach in Mexico. Don't tell anybody, but I guess I just went to Mexico.
It's on TV. You're on TV, bro.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then, and I just like I try to make them right on the full moon.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes the day before and the day after to finish them, but they're just like quick studies of like what's happening. So yeah, this one I think so far is my favorite. And these are cool. These are pieces. I make a lot of paper pulp projects with kids, with myself teaching. And so this is paper pulp that's made from from junk mail. And then I turn it into paper or sculpture. So this is big pieces of that, and then like ripped open because it's like, you know, on the full moon sometimes it's like, wow, like the world's cracking open or your world. And so I was kind of trying to go for that, and a big wave crashing onto the shore. these are like from some, wine bottle label.
Nice.
Yeah. So just using all the different materials.
Okay, so obviously, we want to talk about your bus.
Let's do it.
Let's go talk about the
Yeah.
bus.
Okay.
We're going to go outside and talk about the bus. All right, so this is Michelle's bus. It's the Smash Art bus, and that's all I know about it, except that it's a bus, and it's painted, and it's got cool stuff inside, and Michelle's going to talk about that.
Yeah. So this is the Smash Bus. And as I said before, I had a dream, a vision of it with like another friend of mine way back, and moved out here 8 years ago. And I was like, this is where this is going to happen. And this is, it's a mobile art studio. I got this, off of Craigslist, and that's when it really started going into action. And the idea is just that it's like a way to bring art to all people in any neighborhood. I've never gone outside of the state, but definitely some new stuff coming up in different parts of New Mexico. And so it's just meant to be like inclusive
That's fabulous.
art education, art on wheels.
And it says art by the people.
Art by the people. And it's true, this bus, I brought it down by Tortuga Gallery down there, South Broadway neighborhood, and put it outside. And I had been there a couple times, and people came to it and helped me paint all these different hands on it. That was
That's
like
awesome.
3 years ago, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So can we look inside?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go look inside.
This thing is called the Super Blender, and when I was talking about the pulp art that I make, I put this on the back of a hitch of the bus, and then we put all the junk mail and paper waste in here and water, and I make like up to 160 gallons of paper pulp.
Oh my
And that's
gosh.
kind of the beginning of the process. So this is part of the fleet right here.
That's
Super
awesome.
Blender. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Okay.
Here we go.
Into the bus.
Let's just stay.
This is so cool. Oh my god, this is so cute.
People come in and they're just like, what is happening? And then I always invite them to open up the drawers. All the different materials, again, set up like in my studio, are meant to be like, hey, what's this? I want to try it. Instead of like stuff like totally closed away, like you can't touch it.
Right?
So I want people to be able to come in here and just like open up things and find what it is that they really want to make.
This is so cool.
And a lot of it is donated stuff. A lot of the materials I get donated from people who clean out their garage. No, and that's like actually what happens is I go out, and then a lot of times people want to donate things that are like, I've had this for a long time and I really like it, but now I know it's going to the use of like all these kids and adults that can like make art with it.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
So it's cool. Yes. Yeah. This is like a giant treasure box.
That's repurposed. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. Yes. All right. I think it's really cool that you have all this stuff and you have all kinds of tools and things, and
I believe children can learn how to use tools at a very young age. So
Me
we keep
too.
the drills out, the scissors out, hammers, wire.
this is phenomenal. Okay.
Yep, so this is it. And the bus, I just want to say, for me, this was like, it's such a great spot out here. The Smash Studio Arts that's been developing is because I can drive my bus up here, back it up, and switch out materials from the art studio in
Right.
here.
Yeah, that's
Because
great.
that was not, that's a magic combination right there
Yeah.
for this type of business.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Hey, welcome to the space. This is the New Mexico Moon Studio here at the same grounds, and so space for healing, yoga.
I'm super excited because I'm going to get a massage today. We're going to do some essential oil treatments and also some cranial sacral therapy, so I'm excited about that.
I'm an artist and a healer and practice some yogi, and these things came together in my life like when I was 19. And so now to be able to have these spaces where I can have art and therapy and therapeutic healing for people and for myself at my home is amazing, and I'm so grateful. And so in here, this is called the New Mexico Moon Yoga Studio. This is the altar space, and so there's just different types of cards that people can pull. Animal medicine cards, tarot cards, mother goddess wisdom cards, and just little things, daily affirmations. There's Guru Ramdas there, and there's a little eye that somebody made for me. My students bring me offerings sometimes. And so this is the altar kind of meditation space. And one thing that I have used for healing and health is Doterra essential oils. And that's something that I use as part of the healing sessions for emotional and physical healing and rebalancing. And then my bookshelf that has some inspiration. I just fill this space with everything that is really inspiring to me, and I can just come in here and like pull from my library of different tools. And of course there's yoga in here, so you'll see the yoga mats, the inversion stand, and then recently I've really started doing more craniosacral in training at a school, which is actually up here in Candice as well, the Blue Hill Craniosacral School. And so I've been able to do that in this space as well, and really excited about combining these different modalities. Oftentimes we'll do a short yoga session in here for the individuals, and then move on to the table, use the essential oils, the therapeutic grade essential oils, and that really helps the person, I have found, get into a deeper space. So when I go to practice and use the craniosacral techniques, we're already in a deeper space and we're connected together, which is really part of how the craniosacral healing works.
So that is the New Moon Yoga Studio and Michelle's bus and art studio, and she has classes there and all sorts of fun things happening. So definitely check her out and look her up and support the vision.
Let's go.
And I love that we're all working together to make art accessible in the communities. And I think that, you know, what that constantly brings me back to, though, is the reality that there is some massive imbalance. And that's, you know, related to, you know, a lot of things. On one level, it comes along right down to wealth and monies and income. And that's why we're trying to make art accessible to people who can't afford it otherwise, because somehow that's not somehow, but that's happened in our world.
Yes.
And so I kind of want to, and I kind of cut you off earlier because I just didn't want to go down that road just yet. I want to bring us back here where we could all have a conversation together, but have a conversation about this idea of like generational wealth. What is that? That's a term that we kind of like put out there when we're talking about all sorts of things, but what is that? And you had mentioned the importance of ownership, so I want to get there too, but first can we talk about what is generational wealth, and can you tell me how to build it? Like, who can tell me how to build it?
Well, you know, the funniest part is a lot of times it's not taught, especially in Black, brown, indigenous communities. Like, we aren't necessarily just taught, this is what generational wealth looks like. I will say for my community, I didn't. Did you? No, right? So that being said, a big thing of that is you're gonna have to struggle to get there. We had to struggle to get there, like, and we needed help. Like, we needed community. We needed energy to actually say, wow, you have this, how can we help you get somewhere, because you're at the bottom of it right now, right? So if you're not gonna do it the negative way, right, how can you do it the positive way?
Right.
That's what lasts. That's what generational wealth looks like, is something that lasts to where for 100 generations or 200 generations or something beyond your lifespan, you're not just handing off, oh, here's a pretty ring or here's a backpack. It's like, no, like something that you have ownership of that can create a lasting legacy.
Yes.
That actually lets someone have a pride in who they are and what they're being welcomed into, right? Not necessarily saying, figure it all out, and then your whole life leave nothing. No,
Like a lasting place
There's
in the world.
a lasting place,
love that, a lasting place
of
in the world.
growth and welcomed experience in the world that allows you to not just struggle your way through, but express your way through
And to have abundance.
and have abundance.
I think that's,
yes.
you know, I feel like we're always struggling in our society. Like it's always a struggle, and it's always like the daily grind. Like how do we, you know, how do we stop that cycle? And there's so many cycles that are involved in that. One of the things that you had mentioned about the importance, what you guys were doing at Vision, was about teaching the importance of ownership. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. And while you just dove into that, one of the big things that we were just talking about even last night is why that ownership is important in the first place, right? So if she has an image and somebody now owns that image of her, she can't receive all of that reciprocity off of that image, right? They are. So if Vanessa Mathis has an image of her that makes $1 million, but she doesn't own that image, she's not going to see any of that money on that, right?
Right.
But if she owns that image and she leases that image out, she's now going to accrue however much she wants to off of that one image. And let's say that image is her as a human being, right? We have to have ownership of that, otherwise we're literally just giving that away.
Right.
So kind of what we were talking about last night is, in 2021, right now, people don't realize they're sharecropping and entering into slavery willingly right now today, and also allowing themselves to basically, without ownership, allow themselves to be a 10% owner of 100% of who they are.
Right.
And that being said, you're being cheated out of your wealth, and you don't have anything, right? So we were talking about that, but Vanessa, please share what your feeling was about all of that. You were like, wow, oh man.
You know, it's something that I think as an artist, you never really think about, especially. You know, doing modeling, doing dancing, you're always booked to be a part of something.
Right.
Or you're always hired to be a part of something. Even as a teacher, a dance instructor, you're always hired to be a part of something. And that name comes first. Whoever you're working for always comes first. And then you kind of get pushed back. And you know, that's something that you never really think about as an artist, because it's like, yeah, I get this opportunity to do what I love and to put it out there. But what are you really putting out there, and for whom, and at what expense, and what cost to your craft and your wealth and your place in the world, right?
And also to what you represent.
And what you represent. So I want to, and Trey brought this up last night too, and just changing that conversation of like, well, how do you always make sure that you're represented and you have ownership of anything that you put out? And I think that's going to have to be an ongoing shift in how we do things, especially as artists, because I think that as artists we get taken advantage of a lot more than anything else.
Because we're the nicest people on the planet. We're like so open in our hearts. We're like, and we're
Well,
cool.
people expect, they're like, but you like what you do, so therefore you should be able to do it for free.
Right.
It's like, I still have bills. I still have a family. I got 4 kids.
And that's the thing, is that we want to do it for free, right? Like we're on this planet and living should be free. Everything should be free. And we
that's
would
what an
love
artist
to,
is.
right. We would love to just do it all for free. And honestly, we would. But at the same time, well, how's our kid going to eat? Or how is, like, you know, all of everything going to move forward? If people want to have a space to come, like, we couldn't just come into the space without something backing the space, right? Like, there has to be that tangible, real liquid asset going in so that something can come out. So that being said, with ownership and with all of it, it's like generational wealth isn't just something we can just wake up and snap our fingers and it's like, we're here. Like, it's something that, it's an active process, and it's something that even as we talk about it, it's something we'll continue to do. Like, even with, let's say, Beyonce and Jay-Z, I'll just use them as an example. However much money they have, they're still creating more opportunity to make more. And then they give back. But we can't give back without having something to give.
Right, yeah.
Right? And without having ownership of what that is, right? Like, for us, it's vision. But for whatever someone is representing or wanting to activate, you were born basically being your own, I would almost say, your own entity, and that entity has to be expressing itself honestly, and the only way for it to be expressed honestly and like wholly, like when I say wholly, I'm saying whole, like a donut. It's no, that whole
mean
circle
complete.
or complete,
Not
yes,
like a donut.
whole,
It has a
yeah.
hole in the middle. It's missing a piece.
It literally is holy.
It's a circle. So that being said, in order to do that, you have to be the one calling it.
Right.
And the only way that I could see that happening is to do it myself. One, because for us,
Nobody can express you better than
you, right? And I'll say this as a black dancer in a ballet company. I used to dance with New Mexico Ballet. Ballet is not made for us to just be so rigid when we're so expressive and like want to move. So every time we would want to move that way, we would be brought down a level, right? We would really get brought down a level. Misty Copeland and everyone that's entered these senses of warfare in an artistic way have had to learn that for us, even when we're asked to put on, let's say, tights, they never look like us until we start to speak up about
Right.
it. So that generational wealth comes from us continually showing up every day to battle for 1 inch when other people have a mile. So that we can say, we've gone a mile. This is amazing. How can we also make sure the next generations don't have to go that whole mile and go inch
Again.
by inch
Right.
like we did, or not even inch, like centimeter, like millimeter, but try to set them up for something better, just like the quote that you found.
Right.
You know, it's very important for us to create tangible evidence and be the evidence ourselves, right? Like to live that, to walk that, to say, hey man, this bus cost $1,000 and we figured it out and we got it. You know, like that's exactly what you did, is you created an opportunity that even if you were to pass away, that bus is something that whether the next artist or whoever you left that to or whatever, that becomes something that is like an asset that can be passed on, but it is also inspirational. And these things that inspire people to know, hey, your dream, do it. You can do it, right? Like it doesn't have to be football. It doesn't have to be basketball. It doesn't have to be whatever anyone else did. You could have been born with an idea no one even thought of. Do that thing and know that. But if you don't have anyone saying that your idea is where wealth is, that's where the wealth is. The richest place in the world is a graveyard because that's where the best ideas left the planet. But what about the ones being activated? That's your business. That's your generational wealth.
Right.
That's that activation of that circle.
Well, I want to go back a little bit to what you were saying. It was just it was along your journey of where you're trying to get to. But when you said being a black person in ballet and the tights, and that the tights, they didn't look like you until you had to speak up, and then I know that people go, oh, well, we're going to talk about race now. Yeah, we are. We're going to talk about it because there's a reality.
Wait, wear skin color tights, and then it's like that doesn't look
It's
like your
not my
skin color,
skin,
right? What?
And so, when we begin to have this conversation, like it's important. You had mentioned earlier today that in order for change to happen, that ground has to be fertile. You have to be ready. You have to say, I am ready, right? And so the first thing we have to do is say, like, okay, let's pause and not just roll our eyes when the race, question or comment comes up, because the reality is that there's been an imbalance in our country and around the world, but here in America for centuries and centuries. And so it's like there's an imbalance, and if there's an imbalance, it's like interest, right? It just keeps growing and growing, it gets bigger. And so now, there's literally the haves and the have-nots, and that gap continues to grow, and people of color are more impacted by that than other people, because it was targeted to intentionally literally take away the ownership from people of color. And so I think, I know that that's something that like people have a hard time talking about, like bringing up. And so first I want to say, like, we have to acknowledge that there's, this imbalance before we can do something about the imbalance.
Right.
Yeah.
Why do you think people are afraid to talk about it?
I feel like it's just the ignorance I mean, just like with your body, you may not really know that there's an imbalance until you go get a massage and somebody's like, oh, hey, look, you have this imbalance here.
There's
and
a
somebody
knot
like
right
really
here,
like
and they get in there, the
points it out, right? People are not aware, self-aware of the imbalance that may be existing around them or within them. And I think that that's where it kind of starts, is bringing that self-awareness to the imbalance in itself, and actually making those steps to go figure it out, to put yourself in the situation to acknowledge those imbalances.
And a great way to touch on that same idea is in Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities. A lot of what people, like, I've known people that have said, do Native people exist? I thought that they were just in the book. Like, what? In the book? What? Are you freaking kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? Right? Like, are you still in history class? Like, I thought they were just a story. Like, what? You kidding? Right? Because it becomes like, you know, are they still represented? Yeah. Are you kidding me? They're in the fabric of this country. What are you talking about? They, we, what? Right. So that being said, for me, I think that these removals of what people have to face is where also that problem lies, right? So for instance, I did my own experiment. I'm gonna call myself a natural hood scientist on this one. I'm a Chia. So I wound up saying to myself, you know what? I'm gonna test this theory out about how well kids are raised up inside of these ideas, right? Like adults will deny it all day. Kids are innocent. They can't hide what their truth is. So I took a kid who, obviously, I'm entrusted with them, all that good stuff. And me as the mentor, I'm like, hey, this is the field trip we're going on today, right? So we're on the field trip. Guess where we're going? To the hood.
In the Africa.
For me, I'm like, you know, I'm used to the hood. I'm used to the res. I'm used to all these kind of things, right? I am. Here we go. Field trip time. We're going to the hood. Wait, where are we going? I'm pretending to be the person that I'm my mentee. Where are we going? It's starting to look very, my mom said not to come to these kind of neighborhoods. Pause. What? Your mom said not to come to these kind of neighborhoods. What do you mean? You heard my question? What do you mean? Well, because this is where, you know, people are violent and commit crimes and are hateful, and I hear a whole list of all of the things. Now, mind you, she doesn't know that this is actually where I live.
Right.
I live in this neighborhood. You're coming to my neighborhood, and this is your identity behind my neighborhood, right? Right? Which is also labeled war zone, right? Now, mind you, I've moved since then from that neighborhood and all that kind of stuff, whatever, but the identification process of, you don't go to these neighborhoods, and these are the kind of people that are here. Well, this is interesting that you say that, because you have black people here, you have Mexican or Hispanic and Native, and lots of people from different cultures in these areas that are also the hood, especially inside of any hood. People don't necessarily get to go in these places and know what it's like, but there's great people. Now, mind you, not everyone is committing crime. This is, it's not a crime to have less, right? Like what you said, right? The haves and the have-nots. But when it comes to wealth, well, if the people that built this country, i.e. a very large amount of black bodies that worked for free for centuries, right? What I would say is, if they have not been able to hold the wealth because there's been a fear behind, and I say fear very strategically because this kid implemented the fear mechanism willingly, right? Or unwillingly, I guess, because if they didn't know that that was what their programming was, here it came out. The idea for me is, now looking back, if Black Wall Street was conquered because, if you don't know what that is, look it up, Black Wall Street, and all of these opportunities of being able to see in history where when black people begin to accrue generational wealth, there became more fear, right? Because
which
surely
is also seen as power.
Surely if the power comes to the people that were so wrongfully done, then surely they must have ill intentions. No, we just want to have an even, like equitable ability to live, right? Like let us live. Can we live? And so that being said, I think that I'm not going to say I'm speaking for all people. I'm speaking for myself. I'm speaking for my daughter. Vanessa, you can speak for you, but as Black, brown, or indigenous people, or the BIPOC community as a whole, there's been such a sad thing. If this was starting line, right, and you're at the starting line, but I have to start from back here, and not only is that the starting line, but when the gun goes off, pam, we're told to hold on, wait, let him go for a second. After this is the starting line, we'd be like, no, that's not fair. That's cheating, right? That's what we would say naturally. But this is actually life. There's a huge imbalance and there's a huge set of inequities. And what I feel is this conversation makes people unsettled because then they have to also realize and recognize that there is an idea of wanting to keep people there because we are doing it every day. If you say, hey, take this money and go hand it to that homeless person, someone may get very nervous. Ooh, what do you mean? What? They're going to use it on drugs, or they're going to, like, there's going to start to be these thoughts that come up. And those things that come up and arise to the surface, those are the things we have to start to disintegrate because that's the foundation of who people are in the country. But until people are actually made to be uncomfortable,
Right.
like if you don't feel like you're in the hot seat, you know what I mean, then you're not actually sitting with things. And we have to make that happen because especially in this country when we talk about like what white privilege is, it's not so much white people, it's a thing that has been created that has put one type of person on a pedestal, right? And then made it be inaccessible for other people. And if they ever try to get there, then it's like, oh my goodness, they must have done something wrong to get there, right?
Yeah,
So,
we had to work 8 times as hard.
8 times as hard,
Probably more.
right? Like either we have to work 8 times as hard, or we had to do something wrong to get there.
Well,
it's like,
and you know, you said something that, you know, like you said, we just want to be able to live. You know, can we just live? But I want to say, like, I mean, to thrive.
Thrive.
Like, what do we?
Let's
like
go.
the fact that that's, you know, like that's the okay. I guess we could let you live, but it's like no, to thrive.
to thrive,
And
absolutely.
I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of that. You know, you said there's fear in there. There's also I think that we have to come to terms with that desire to hold on to that power because the reality is if there's an imbalance and I got all the things, and in order to make that balance happen, that means I have to give some of my things. That you know, it's not like magical things happen. You know, like we live in a world that has things and not, you know, and
Right.
and so those things have to become balanced, which means some of these things have to go over here. Like we have to. So I think that's, you know, an unspoken conversation that people don't want to have. They're not ready to say, well, the reason why we continue to allow this to exist is because although I don't want racism to happen, I also don't want to give up my power.
Don't
my
wanna
wealth.
give it
I don't
up.
want to, you know, risk my kids then not having the generational wealth or whatever. And it's a conversation that needs to be had. It's a conversation. It's an acknowledgement. We can't move forward without having this conversation, without having this acknowledgement and this moment really come to the surface where we start to say, this is where things are actually at. Because as long as we continue to deny what's happening, we can't fix it because we're too busy trying to cover up our little ego issues and our inner demons that are saying, if I let this change, it impacts me in a way that's not comfortable. It's not just about the uncomfortability of the idea. It's about
Right.
the uncomfortability of what if I had to live like them?
Right.
Right.
I actually had, and it was a family member. So I am Black, Mexican, and my great-grandparents are from Ireland and Hungary. So I have a very wide mixture of things. But it just so happened that the Mexican side of my family, we were all gathering together, and one of my, we'll say white family members came in, and he was like, I'm the only white person here. I was like, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
But
like,
here I
"I'm
am, the only
uncomfortable."
Black person still in the room, just because they may be brown, closer to me. He felt uncomfortable, and it was just like, well, this is my daily life. Like, welcome to my uncomfortability everywhere I go. You know, growing up in school, the only Black kid sitting in the classroom, you know? So it's like, even those things, like when people get put in other people's shoes that are uncomfortable, it just causes like these fears or these you get to see what other people live like or feel, and it's just like, well, this is what is really happening to other people. Like, now you feel it. Now do you see why we fight so hard for what we are fighting for?
And then comes the place of choice. So now it's, what do we do with that? You know, if we've been in that place, then where can we go from there? So some people, you know, a lot of people will go, yeah, but we don't want to feel that again, so we're just going to move right along. And then, you know, or you have the choice to say, how do we stop this? So I guess that's what, you know, the next thing I want to ask is, like, how can those that hold the power support and help those who don't? And specifically in our context, in our world, you know, how can we support people of color who are trying to gain generational wealth and take ownership of themselves and like their place in society? You know what I mean? Like,
I think one thing that resonates with me the most is first find an identification process with where, and it's not, when I say the word whiteness, that's not a person, right? Like, and that's not, like, a kid would tell me, that person's not white, they're peach, right? So it becomes that whiteness becomes this idea of a privilege that is like, this is privilege because it's white. And once I think about this idea of like the white privilege, it's not a person, right? Because even in the idea that there has been equity returned to people that have signed treaties, right? They've basically accepted something from whiteness that now makes them have something ahead of others, right? So this idea for me is to say, first you have to look at the most disenfranchised people and then say, wow, that's where they are, because everyone has their own level of pain or disenfranchisement or whatever attacks have happened that then make everyone turn on each other. But if you first look and say, hey, little brother's doing the worst, that's who we need to help, or little sister's doing the worst, that's who we need to help. We need to come down from our pedestal to meet them where they're at, and then once they're where we're at, then the actual conversation of anything can happen, right? But that's, I think, why even inside of Black, brown, and indigenous communities as a whole, there starts to be all this little stuff amongst ourselves as well, because for us, we've been pitted against each other because it's like, especially for Black people, we don't have anything and we're trying to get something, but then everyone that has a little something, even the ability to say, wow, we even have our language. If you ask one Black person what their native tongue was, they're gonna be like, English. What are you talking about?
yeah.
But that's not who you are. So who are you? Well, then I don't know. If we even start there, and that wealth of knowledge, every ounce of our tapestries or anything that should have been handed down from the generations was burned, was fully removed. We don't even know our songs, our dances, or anything, but every time we've recreated them, everyone samples and takes that, but then we don't even get a little bit of it because everything born in the hood is brought to what's good, and then everyone gets paid. People are getting paid off of hip-hop right now, and it's not even the people that created it.
Yeah.
So there's this idea that if we just take what's yours and make it ours, that's okay. We have to actually say, no, it's not. We can't appropriate what makes you great. We need to appreciate what makes you great. We need to come and sit at your table that's right there in a place I'm afraid of and say, dang, let me have dinner with you and these roaches.
And that's one thing I want to, that's been, for me, my personal journey, which is still unfolding. And it's just, I just realized I'm just one person, right? But putting myself in a place where I'm really scared, like going to detention centers and working with teenagers from Albuquerque that I don't really know anything about, and I'm learning from them what their lives are like. But it's scary. I was scared walking in there. Now I feel a little more comfortable, but and I think for like white people to put themselves into, like you're saying, in situations where you're like, I feel really uncomfortable, and it's okay. And I'm gonna learn from the people, and I'm gonna shut my mouth and listen and support and be like, you know, and for me, I'm a heart person, so I'll just support them through that way, because I'm still learning like more practical ways, you know.
Yeah.
But through me, it's just like I have these resources. I'm an artist, so this is what I can give.
Right.
And for me, just showing up for those teens and being like, I see you, and here's the stuff that I'm bringing, and you do whatever it is that you let the expression come.
Yeah.
And going into that place of like, because I feel like so many of the white people feel like I'm comfortable, I don't want to go out of my bubble, yeah, and keep that. And then also I want to say like taking the masks off, because all of us, I personally feel, from whatever background we're from, there's, like you're saying, peeling off the layers. It's like taking off the mask over and over and over. And like the young children, you know, working with little kids, like you're saying, because children don't know that.
Right.
You're right. I remember you
Right.
said earlier, you feel
Right.
it in the womb, what's happening. But when a child comes into the world, they're just love.
Right.
And then you were saying earlier, you know, before they, you know, this is what you should think. This is how the world is. This is what you have, and that's what. And so it's like, it takes work, you know, to take that stuff off and then put that bare nakedness of who you really are. Like, this is me. I'm scared as shit. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
I want to know you. I want to understand you. And it's about, to me, that's like where I'm at with it. And it's just always, you know, learning, listening, and giving space to people who need the space, you know?
I think that that's kind of like a good start, you know, it's like knowing how you can actually support without putting yourself at the forefront.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, we've had it happen to us, is like somebody wanted to buy a space for us and us just work it. Well, that's not our ownership.
Yeah.
That's not equity.
Yeah.
You know, like if your name is still on it, you're still getting everything from it.
credit and the-
So, and all the credit for that. Like, that's not how, just because we're the face or we're the people that people see, that's not ownership. You're still using us to get what you need for your business, for your whatever, for your generational wealth, right?
And someone may not realize they're doing that.
Right.
We know that we can't hold that against them. We have to say, that's where they are.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes there's also the place where, you know, that might be, you know, you might need a space that you can't own yet. And so that's also, you know, I think that in this conversation, the most important place is to do exactly what Michelle said, is to listen.
To listen.
To what's being said. Because, you know, if you say, well, I need a space so I can teach classes, I'm like, well, I got a freaking space. You can teach classes. You have fun. You know, but if you say, well, I don't want to use your space because then I don't have my space, you know, then I need to say, okay, then how can I support you in what you're doing?
That is the key thing. You asked a question, how can I support? And when there is that support, what it does is it creates now coming together, that listening and saying, and that was kind of what you were alluding to, is like to pause and listen means the kind of, sometimes we just have to, and any one of us, we have to like shut up and be like, I'm ignorant right now, please let me know what's up, you know? And for me, I could only say that there has been great people that have helped us and had great intentions. And at times what happens is anyone can have a great intention. And sometimes we can unintentionally, with our great intentions, actually step on and squash people and not help them rise.
You know, instead of people tell instead of ask,
Yeah.
right? And that's like the biggest thing. Like, I'm gonna tell you, this is what you should do.
Yeah.
Let me do this for you, like this, instead of how can I help you? Like, this is what I have to offer. This is
Yeah.
what I can do to help you.
And take it or leave it.
And take
if
it or
you
leave it.
don't want it, then I'm not gonna be offended.
Right.
Right.
You know?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like-
that's huge.
Right.
So that's all we've got time for today, guys. But I know this conversation needs to continue. And with that being said, I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining me. And it's time for
a new
a new
agenda.
Wondering what's up next on the new agenda? Well, here's the lineup. See you next week.